Hi, everyone. I'm Lori La Bey, and this is Dementia Chats. For those of you that are new, Dementia Chats is a gathering of people living with a variety of dementias, and we pick a topic and they talk about it honestly, and it's so helpful and so insightful. I love these conversations, and I'm sure you will as well. I started this because my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I found her insights really, really powerful. So today we're going to be talking about stress triggers, and Lord knows we have enough of those. And so we're going to cover a wide variety because different things stress out different people at different times, but I know you'll find this very helpful. Before we get started, I am just going to have everybody introduce themselves. So Michael, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
My name is Michael Ellenbogen, and I'm an international dementia advocate. I have, I guess, some form of dementia, not totally clear on what it is, but let's just say that for now.
Great, thank you. And Creaky, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Creaky, Karen Creekmore. I was diagnosed in 2014 with, at 59, with unspecified dementia. And I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas, and I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. True?
Full legal name is Truthful Loving Kindness. My current diagnosis is mild cognitive impairment, and I blog. I'm very involved with Dementia Mentors and several other organizations.
Great, thank you. And Lori?
I'm Laurie Scherer. I'm an international speaker. I'm on the advisory board for Dementia Action Alliance and involved in Dementia Mentors and all kinds of things. So it's just really nice to get together with other people living with dementia and be able to share ideas.
Great, thank you. And Pauline?
Hi, my name is Pauline Gordon. I was diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2012. And I am currently living in sunny Arizona, and I'm on the advisory board and board of directors for Dementia Action Alliance and heavily involved with Dementia Mentors as well.
Let's go ahead and start. Lori, you want to jump in?
This time of year, there's all kinds of things that can trigger stress. The holidays bring about lots of family, friends, trying to find gifts for people when you don't have the money to afford gifts for people and not knowing what to get them anyway. And I think for me, one of the hard things is that I can't go to like the mall because there's too much overstimulation and noise. But yet I got to think of things to get my family and loved ones. But that's hard when you're not going to the mall and seeing all the things that are out there. So this time of year, it's not just the normal stress of the holidays. I mean, holidays always bring stress for all of us, I think. But then you add to that the stress of, I've got to hold my head together. I've got to be cognitively aware. I don't have time for a meltdown. I've got to keep going, and pushing yourself to try and keep going when you know maybe you should take a break. And therefore it just increasing your cognitive issues, that just adds to the stress that you already have, the stress due to the holidays. So it's like a circular trigger there. And although to me, holidays are just wonderful. I have 5 siblings, and to be able to get together with even 1 or 2 of them is just, and my nieces and nephews is just absolutely wonderful. But knowing that getting together with them may mean that the following day I'm going to have issues and be disoriented, confused. It's adding to the stress, knowing that all this fun and love and joy is probably going to lead to having a bad day.
Can you explain how that contributes to having a bad day when you're looking so forward to that, Lori? Can you put that into words?
The constant, when you have people getting together, say at my house, you're spending the day trying to make sure the table's set, the food's right, you're trying to spend time with all of them, you're having fun, you're laughing. That uses a lot of the cognitive reserve that we're holding. So on a normal day, when I don't have people here, I can go on a couple chats, get off, put my music on, and give my head time to regenerate. When you have people here all day, or you're at somebody's house, it's very difficult to get a break, to get away from that overstimulation and try and regenerate your brain. For example, sitting at a table with multi-conversations. As much as I love everybody talking, they're talking and they're out here and I'm still processing back here. And so I'm constantly trying to play catch up on the conversations. And plus, if there's multiple conversations going on, my head's trying to say, okay, focus on this one. You're involved in this conversation. Focus on this one. And it's like running a marathon, but turning around and running backwards because you're constantly trying to play a catch-up game. You're constantly trying to focus. And that's tiring. It totally is mentally, it totally drains the brain. It's a brain drain because we never can catch up. So through the whole conversations of people talking, we're constantly trying to catch up with a conversation we're never going to catch up with anyway. But it's wearing us out. It's taking so much energy to focus and listen and try and process what people are saying. And at the same time, trying to process, is the food ready? Did I do this? Did I do that? That it's just totally draining.
I think that was really helpful because I think a lot of people think, well, you know, the stress of the holidays, but you're adding in all these other factors because everyone feels the stress of the holidays and everybody typically likes to get together, but then everyone, you know, and that's one of the things people are talking about is the limits of how long do you spend with family and friends, you know, before you need to decompress. And yet it's just exasperated with the disease. And I think you did a really nice job explaining that so people can see that, you know, this isn't just surface stuff. This is the amount of energy that it takes to stay present and on top. And I think you did an excellent job just explaining that. So thank you. True?
Also thinking about what words to say to the family and friends in order to, when you make your exit, or when you're trying to communicate and not gathering what they're saying, thinking about how you're going to manage your time, because all of our time with dementia is so much more crimped because everything takes so much more time during the day. And then you stuff holidays in there and maybe stuff some weather emergencies and illnesses that go along with weather. And you don't have any time. So managing that, those extra pressures, and for me, especially thinking about what can I say? I've already said, an hour is my max. If you're going to come visit, it can be 2. But if I'm gone somewhere, it's an hour. I can't stay there. Don't keep pushing me. And, okay, like I've got a couple of friends that are, I've tried to explain that I cannot understand what they're saying. Can they please talk slower? Can they put a break in? And so they try it again, and I still can't understand. And usually the third time they try, I just nod my head, because I've given up trying to get them to slow down. Or friends that are really loud, and holidays are a loud time. Everybody's excited, the music's going, and then people are talking over on this other section. They've got to be really loud. And then my time compresses. And what am I going to say? If I go into it prepared with what I'm going to say, then I'll do better than if I'm not prepared. But all of those put extra pressure.
You know, it's interesting you talk about your exit strategy and what are you going to communicate. And most of us just take that for granted. I'm out of here. It's time to go. You know, sometimes it's the long goodbye, but you know, people just don't think twice about that. Or when you were talking about the noise, it reminds me, I went out to down to Stillwater, this little old town, with a girlfriend this weekend, and haven't seen her in years. And we went into this little bar to have a cocktail, and we were talking, everything was fine. And then more people came in, and then the music got really, really, really loud. And I asked the bartender, I said, can you turn that down? I said, you can't even talk. And he's like, this is a loud bar. It's supposed to, the music automatically amplifies the more people that come in. And I'm like, so then everyone is screaming over one another. And it was just like, we left. It was just so disorienting and not comfortable for us. And again, I think sometimes we forget, and I think as we age, we all understand that a little bit more with the background noise and how disorienting it can be. But you guys have it on a whole nother level that I think people don't appreciate all the time or understand. True, go ahead.
And that's another thing with the holidays. I've got family that understands not to have the television or radio on if they want me to be able to participate. But it's holidays. You've got to have holiday music in the background. It's an extra thing. You've got to, because it's the holidays. And it's hard.
Yeah. We have the holidays and football games and screaming with the scoring and all of that stuff, plus the kids and things. Lori, go ahead.
On what Prue was saying about being careful what you say, I have to agree with that, because it's not, to us, it's remembering what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So it's not only what to say that you're supposed to say, but also remembering when we need to shut up and hold our mouths, and that's not always easy for us. One time I said to someone, "How's your dad?" Well, not only had he died over a year ago, I was at the funeral, and I didn't remember that at all. So you add to, when we're at gatherings, we've got to also remember, try and process, shut your mouth, don't even bother asking, because the answer might be something like, well, you were at the funeral. So that adds stress to it. And then, like with the music, yeah, I have to have my holiday music. It is really hard for me. So when I go places, I've got my earplugs everywhere I go, and my earplugs go in. But it's difficult for people to understand, no, you can't have a football game going when I'm there. And if you do, great, enjoy it, I'm out of here. Because that's just the way it has to be. But then with children, you can't say, get rid of the children or I'm out of here. Maybe sometimes you want to, but that's not appropriate either. But my great nieces and nephews, I love them dearly, but there's times that I just have to go in the other room and put my music on. And my family knows that. If I get up and leave the table, just leave me alone. Most events are at my house because I happen to have a very large house and a table that fits 30 people. So where else are they going to go? But they know if I leave, just leave me alone for a while. I need my music and I need to get away from the stimulation. But that's things that people don't realize when we're together, is you don't hear the background noise like I do. You don't hear the kids, and the overstimulation, you can drown it out, whereas most of us can't.
You know, one of the things that I love that you talk about is going to this quiet area. And that's a really simple fix that can be done really respectfully for people, is just to have that set up if somebody is visiting your house and say, hey, I might want to go there, you know, myself, because it gets overwhelming, and or have the earbuds in. You know, there are some simple things that can help, and I think we have to talk about them more so that others understand that, because they want you to be comfortable and they don't want you to have to leave. You know, they want you to be part. So I think it's important to have these conversations. Pauline, you had a comment?
I agree with a lot of what Lori has said. I think one of the things that's very stressful for me about gatherings at the holidays are remembering people's names and all their family details, kind of as Lori just said, because I just was with a family member, a close family member, and I said, how are the children? Well, he only has one. But, I asked about both of them. So, it's always kind of a pressure to remember what is going on in other people's lives, and to have to try to have a normal conversation. One of the things that I tend to do in those kind of situations is I try to pair up with an individual, so that I'm just one-on-one with somebody instead of one in a group of a lot of people, because I really can't do it that way. I have to do one-on-one. And I do also use the retreating method, to another room or outside or just something, when that's necessary as well. But I think, the other pressure I think that is stressful, a little stressful, is as we have lost our careers, our jobs, and retiring and different things like that, the finances aren't there that used to be there. And so we have to change the expectations of our children in terms of what we can offer to them at this point in our lives. And I think I don't think they have a problem with it, but I think I have more of a problem with it than they do. It feels bad to me that I can't do as much as I used to do. They'll all still have a very nice Christmas, and it will all be very nice. But that's one thing I think about. The other challenge I have is that I live in a home with my husband and my daughter, and we have 4 grandchildren. So it will be quite a busy Christmas with all of that. But I'm sure we'll all survive. The 2 of them are young, so that will be a little bit more challenging, but I'm sure it will all be good.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and little ones, I know, I have my grandchildren that live at my house too, and they get up and they scream every morning where the elf on the shelf is, you know. And I'm upstairs, so I just kind of hear murmurs of it. But it kind of it gets my heart going in terms of just the love I feel for them and how excited they are about the holidays. And then, they'll come up but they want to grab you and bring you and move fast and kind of haul you around the house to show you and stuff. And they just want to be inclusive, and they don't understand, all the other dynamics and stuff. So with 4 of them, I can only imagine with that. Creaky, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'll just have to go through this. I reiterate everything that Lori said. I mean, this is pretty much what my notes were when she was talking. These issues about people talking slower and me not understanding, or like Michael said, hearing a question, processing it, and then giving me time to say it before somebody interrupts me or changes the subject. All of that has started happening just in this year. And so the family, this Christmas thing coming up, I have done this, and I'm getting more assertive about, just this not in your face, but just could you slow down a little bit, especially with family members, with my mom or my niece who talks 90 miles an hour, which is great. That's their normal, that's how they talk. And when I say slow down, they instantly slow down. But 5 minutes later, of course, they're going to be back into their, normal talking. And I finally got it. Occasionally if the conversation is important, like if I need to hear it and answer it, and they started talking too fast, like again, I'm just like, oh, darn it. If you could slow down a little bit, it just takes me a little longer instead of getting all bent out of shape, which I used to do all the time, or just withdraw. So that's been helpful. And, I can't expect, this is just new for them. And I don't want to be the elephant in the room and have everybody expect let's talk a little slower. And then all of a sudden it's baby talk, or what are we going to say? We're going to say it wrong, to make it uncomfortable. And the other thing about going out into another room, I do the same thing. And it's like, I try to get a phone number, from a friend if I'm just with my family. And if I start feeling that, no matter what the issue is, I don't even have to say anything. I just go to my car and call somebody and talk, and then I can go back and do a little more. Following conversations, just what we were saying before, we are a party group. We have a bonfire in the backyard, and everybody's kind of imbibing, and which is all cool. But again, it's what is the priority? Do I need to really hear the repetitive stuff? It's not just me, the repetitive stuff, it's just social. And so when it gets too loud and I'm not following anything, it's just blah, 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 I'll get up and leave. And I have my earbuds in with my on one ear, I can hear a little bit, and for me to just go away and settle down. So that really helps out a lot.
Well, that's wonderful. I like the calling of the friends, just to escape and kind of recenter. And maybe you want to vent, maybe you just want to chat, it doesn't really make any difference, but just having that backup that works for you. And Lori had written a note in the chat box about before they go to someone's house, her husband always asks, is there a retreat area? Is there a bedroom or another, space in the house that she can go to if she just needs that withdrawal? I think getting people to understand how essential that is, because it really is what you guys were talking about, was rebuilding that energy source and kind of recentering things to be able to enter into the chaos again, because everything is kind of haphazard, during the holidays or big gatherings. Michael, let's hear from you.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a very interesting topic, and Lori really did a great job describing a lot of things. I have to tell you, for me, I didn't even know what the hell stress was. I mean, I used to have one of the most stressful jobs that you could possibly have, and I used to thrive on it. I used to love it. And it wasn't, believe it or not, until a couple of weeks ago that I realized that I no longer can handle stress. And I've gone from like one side of the pendulum all the way to the complete opposite side. And I've realized that's what's been triggering a lot of my snapping out to my wife and others, is that I just can't deal with any level of stress anymore. I mean, nothing. And it's terrible. Well, because of that, I just become this Dr. Jekyll. I don't remember which one was the worst guy, Hyde or Jekyll, but whichever was the worst guy, that's the one I've become. Every time there's the littlest amount of stress. And, it's taken me a long time to figure that out. As you know, I work with a lot of people with dementia, and I've helped a lot of people and analyzed things for them, and I've always been really good at helping others. But I wasn't able to help myself. And I just figured that out with the help of my wife. And like I said, just in the last couple of weeks, realizing that's my problem, with the boat, with the house. And it's weird how I just couldn't figure that out. And now what I need to do is really just kind of get away from it all. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I've kind of slowed down with my advocacy. And I didn't realize that was one of the reasons. But again, just too much pressure and everything has just created a real problem for me to continue to function. And at the same time, it's made me realize how screwed up my brain is anymore. You said you were looking at these house plans, Lori. I can't even look at them and try to figure out what I need to do or what's good or what's bad. It's like I look at them, I stare at them, and it's like I can't figure anything out. And it makes you realize how screwed up your brain really is anymore. And my God, I built a huge 500,000 square foot building for PNC Bank when I was a manager there. I actually built the whole entire data center and everything. So this little house is like nothing. But yet I can't even figure out the simplest things. And I have to rely on my wife to do it all. So it's so hard for me to understand how I went from one end of the spectrum to the complete opposite, to not be able to handle any kind of stress whatsoever. And it's really weird because this just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. And but I have to accept that's what it is today. And somebody mentioned, you listen to other people talk that you're trying to help them out, who are living with dementia. And I hear that constantly. And to not be able to talk about their specific topic out there, and it's terrible because that's created much more stress on me that I can't help them out when I want to help them out anymore. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to end. It's something that unfortunately, I guess I got to learn to live with. But at the same time, it's stressful. I mean, just being here with you folks, all these women, and I'm the only guy. That's stressful. I'm just joking. But really, I mean, it's really hard to try to understand yourself. And I'm not good at understanding myself anymore. I really am not. I mean, I had such a great time this season with this boat. It's been wonderful. It's great. But at the same time, that came with so much stress. And the stress wasn't the boat itself. It was the people who were taking care of the boat for me that we were paying money, because they would move things around on me. They'd clean the boat, they'd do this, or they'd miss a spot. And these little tiny things created so much stress for me that I don't even want the goddamn boat anymore. I want to get out of it. It's just made my life so miserable from the little tiny things that came out of that boat. So thank God I'm selling it, because we're buying the house, and I'm just so looking forward. I wish I could somehow fast forward a year and a half from now and the house be built and just go there and relax and not have to worry about that. But unfortunately, I can't even imagine what my wife's got to be going through, because I'm relying on her on all this, because I can't deal with any stress or anything anymore. She's got to have all the conversations with everybody. And I keep getting on her case, and I don't know. I just want it over. And I look forward to a year and a half from now.
Well, it's interesting when you said about stress, that you didn't recognize it. But, we don't recognize what we don't know. And if that was just something that was common that you dealt with, it really wasn't an issue for you, but then things change. It's kind of like when an illness crops up, it might just be, oh, I got a little cough or a little cold, but then, you don't have a little cough or a little cold for a year, but you're still telling yourself it's just a little cough or a little cold. And it might be something more than that, because you don't want it to be anything more than that either. And stuff. So I think that is a real interesting aspect in bringing up. It was good that you and your wife had a conversation about your reactions and how you were dealing with that, and your appreciation too for all that she has to deal with now because you can't. And I think sometimes that is forgotten by friends and family as well with that. Lori, I think you had a comment from before, and then I'll go to True.
I did. My husband recently got hearing aids after 7 years of him going, what? So I'm thrilled to death he finally gave in and got them. But now it's an app on his phone. So he can go on his phone, and when we're in a restaurant, he can turn down the background noise. He can turn up the front noise. I mean, he can just totally change all kinds of input levels on this hearing aid. I said, I want one of those. I want one of those, but not that increases the hearing, but rather something where I can muffle the background noise and increase the person I'm listening to, whatever. What a wonderful idea. I mean, we go in a restaurant and I see him go, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh. Next thing I know, he doesn't hear any background music at all. We need one of those. I just might share, anybody listening to this, please develop one.
That would be really interesting. I mean, I think they're out there already, but it would be really interesting to approach a company like Starkey or something and see if there could be a study done on this to see if it does help. That would be really, really interesting to do. True, you had a comment?
Well, I'll add something on that. I asked at my hearing doctors last year before last, for exactly that, something that would mute as well, like a plug that had the hearing aids inserted into the plug instead of the hearing aid in addition to whatever you would normally hear. And he said that at that time, he didn't know of anything. But what we were talking about before, I have a note. After a short time in a gathering, I may avoid interaction altogether, add earplugs, and just enjoy being together, the beingness of it. Also, I'm having a hard time remembering even family names. In fact, I have the grandkids' names written right here beside my PC because I'm usually here at the PC. And one of the boys came up and he says, Grandma, my name's gone. Because he knows my rememberer got broke. And since my rememberer got broke, I need to have his name there. But I was considering buying really nice name pins and asking even family to wear them for gatherings. And Lori just suggested buy Santa hats and put their names on the Santa hats.
That's good. You just got to get them all to wear them and not switch them around, because that happens too sometimes at those parties. Paul Ann, you had a comment?
I just wanted to say that, make the point that having dementia itself is incredibly stressful, even in spite of the holidays. It just is so stressful. You're constantly writing things down. You have to write everything down. You have to double check and always check the calendars, and see what you're doing, or you'll start, my short-term memory's gotten so bad anymore. I'll go from my bedroom to the living room where my computer is and forget what I sat down to do, what the project was I was going to do. And so it's a very frustrating way to live, really. We have a lot of strategies that we all develop, to cope with this and to mitigate it, but it's a lot of work and a lot of stress.
And again, I think that people don't understand how exhausting that can be, how it can deplete your energy level. True, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I have numerous reminders. If it's important, like reminders for this chat. Okay, I've got the one the night before. I've got the one 2 hours before. I've got it a half hour. Even 10 minutes before, I am likely to forget it. In that 10 minutes, I lost it. I forgot all about it. And it's so hard for people to understand that you can remember it even just a few minutes before the occasion, and then the time comes and it's completely gone.
Well, and that's a good example too of, I just think for the rest of us who don't need that many buzzers going off, but now you got all these alarms going off for all these different things. That gets confusing in and of itself, I would imagine too. But yet there's not a better system for it. Creaky, you had a comment?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, all of this I'm relating to. Going back to, if I get overwhelmed talking with people, friends that are not like us, not with dementia, and I get overwhelmed and I start pulling away because I'm embarrassed or whatever, that's when I call somebody that has dementia and am able to get the support I need to know that, they don't know that they're being that way, and so I get the support and I can go, like what True said, to just enjoy the company without feeling less than or not included. That really helps. Yeah, and the alarm things, I have to write it in my cell phone, in my daily reminder, in my purse, 2 alarms, a half hour, 15 minutes, but I better have it set on AM or PM, and that alarm better say, call so-and-so. Well, why am I calling them? Am I, and so I look on my other note, did I say exactly why? So it goes away pretty darn quick, and these are things that are working for me, putting my meds in my dog bowls so we both get taken care of. And the people don't see that, you don't have dementia, you're talking, you're walking, you're driving, they don't see that. And I don't have to explain it anymore. I just say, yeah. I don't have to give them my diagnosis or anything like that. I just say, yeah, so.
Great, that's good. Lori, you had a comment on decorations and how you handle that. Why don't you explain that to our group?
A few years ago, I wanted to decorate for fall because I forget if it was AARP or the New York Times. Somebody was coming to do an interview, and I wanted to decorate for the fall. And I brought down my fall decorations, and I couldn't remember what to do with them. I'm looking at this tub of stuff, and I'm like, okay. So my Aunt Joyce came over and helped me decorate the house real beautiful. And we took pictures of all the decorations. I mean, everything. It was a lot of pictures. And then at Christmas time, we did the exact same thing. We took pictures of all the decorations. In spring, we take pictures of what tablecloth I use, how I decorate, the whole thing. And now, when we bring down the decorations for whatever season, I have my tablet with all my pictures on it. It reduces my stress level drastically because it's reducing the amount of time I have to spend trying to think, okay, where does this jar of candy go? Where's it supposed to be? Where do the nuts go? It totally reduces my think time a lot, to the point that I can follow a picture, and that works fine. And my china cabinet always has an absolutely beautiful display because we took pictures once.
Well, that's a great idea. And again, I think it just shows people the importance of figuring out how to adapt. How do you make it easier? How do you make it flow? How do you make it less stressful for everyone? Because if you're stressed, that ripples out too. Everyone else feels stressed. And if others are stressed, or, it ripples out. I don't care who you are, if you have dementia or not. That's just, we're all connected really by an energy field, and it can make things uncomfortable. And so learning to adapt for whoever it is you're around. If you're sensing that there's a level of stress, ask. Just ask, and ask how you might be able to help, because chances are you will be able to come up with some ideas on how to do that. True, you had a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that holiday stuff adds stress. another aspect is what effect does that stress have on us with dementia symptoms, which is usually a exacerbation of those symptoms itself. So I'm more sensitive to sound. I'm more sensitive to things moving around. I'm more sensitive to the clutter making it so that I can't understand what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to do it. So what made me think of that is Lori's idea of taking the pictures of where things go. I'm sorry, is likely to lower my anger level, my frustration and irritation level to others, because that is, it's something that scares me. It scares me when I get angry. I'm not one that deals with anger well. I get scared. So that's so great.
Wonderful. Lori, go ahead.
The hard part is the first time getting somebody to help you put the things where you want them so you can take the pictures. That's a hard part. You know, it's like that first time is difficult, but you get it done. We've applied the same type of strategies to holiday dinners. I try to keep holiday dinners the same time every year. So 2:00 is when we're going to eat. And then with that, I have a folder that I have my recipes and stuff in, along with my times. So it says 11:00, put this in, 12:00, whatever. So when it comes Christmas time, I'm going to pull out my little folder, and because I'm in a routine of I do the same thing. Now, of course, the other relatives can bring different dishes if they want and add variety, but Christmas, Thanksgiving, we have the routine, and we, you know, that helps me. And along with that, I take a picture of it. So if I'm doing, you know, sliced potatoes and muffin bins, I take a picture of it to go along with the recipe so that it's showing it in my pan, the way I do it, and then the way I display it are all in with that one recipe. The more, to me, the more I can organize it once, it helps me to follow things through later, and that's how I can do the things I do.
Wonderful. I'm going to just throw in some other tips that might be helpful for family and friends. Some have said instead of having a big gathering, have smaller gatherings and more of them so that it's easier to hear. And again, that can be hard for families breaking away from tradition. And sometimes the person with dementia doesn't want that either. They want the big tradition to go on. So, you know, talk with them about that, be inclusive of that. At a table, I remember Harry Urban saying, seat me at the end versus the middle, because I get less background noise if I'm at the end, and I am able to read people's lips and see more clearly. I mean, that's something really simple that can be done. Be conscious of decorations, and you know, if you've got somebody with dementia participating, are flashing lights and stuff going to be a distraction and upsetting? Or the automatic, you walk by them and they talk at you, can be really scary for some people too. And it can be annoying for others as well. With that, types of foods, depending on where someone is in the disease. Sometimes we get these big fancy place settings and tables, and that can be overwhelming with multiple glasses and multiple pieces of silverware, or just a fear of I might break something or I might grab the wrong utensil, can add stress, I've heard. But the same can happen like with a buffet line. I remember bringing my mom out, and she would start in one, and then she'd eye something else up, and she'd put that plate down, she'd go pick up another one, and she'd start someplace else. And so that can get confusing. Again, depending on where somebody is in the process. Sometimes finger foods are easier to be able to use, and sometimes not. What else do they have down here? If you're seeing someone who might be getting stressed or anxious, And again, this can apply, all this stuff can apply to all of us. But, if they're not able to recognize that or comfortable enough taking themselves out of the situation, just approach them and say, hey, let's go explore their house, or let's go for a walk, or can you help me with something? Because most people will want to help you do something, because versus feeling like the odd duck who has to leave. And so a lot of times those are helpful. Does anybody else have any maybe last minute tips that they want to be able to share with our audience? True?
I'll say that finger foods are really important for me. My tremors are so bad that I can't keep lots of foods on the silverware. So the finger foods are really becoming key. And the small gatherings, yay, that's so great. But nobody wants to go with it.
It's a hard one, changing those traditions. I'm going to go to Michael and then Lori.
While it's easier said than done, I think we all need to know that no matter what we're going to do or where we go, we're going to have to deal with stress one way or another. I mean, that's just going to become a part of life for us, even if it's not stressful to others. And I think we have to go in with that attitude and just hopefully things will come out better, because we kind of know to expect things coming to hit our way that we just don't like.
Great. Thank you. Lori?
For me, I tried having the smaller gathering things. That didn't work too well, because that was just multiplying the stress over and over again instead of one time. I had to keep doing it. It was like, and I hate that dirty 4-letter C word, the COOK thing. I hate that. So that just meant I was multiplying it. Yeah, no, not so good. I'll take my chances with one big group. But even with having a big group, or whether you're with small groups, I think having a partner, someone or multiple people who can understand our limits and know when to say you're done is so important. I know there's been times when my husband or my sister or my cousin came in and said, you're done. Go back and put your music on. That's important, because I think we get so wrapped up in the moment that we don't always see it ourselves. We want to push, we want to keep going. But if we do that, we're liable to end up not enjoying the whole event. So it is important to have someone to help recognize where your limit is. It's also important to have a discussion with the people that you're inviting, especially if it's to your home. Let them know, hey, if I disappear for a while, I'm okay. Just leave me alone. Please don't be offended. It's nothing you did. I just need this space. At first, Roy and I didn't really talk to everybody, and they'd go like, is she all right? Did something upset her? And now people just know, if just leave me alone, give me my space. I think being open and honest with people, they want to help for the most part. They want to do what's best for you. But how are they going to know if we don't tell them? They're not going to magically say, oh, I know what she needs, and get it right. It's probably going to be wrong. So that's on us to have that conversation and share with them what we need.
Those are great tips. And I love the part about, if you've got a partner, or a friend who can just help read you, because you might not understand. The other thing that I think is really important too, and I don't know if anyone mentioned this today, but I've heard you guys talk about this before, is the amount of energy it takes to participate in this can really have repercussions after the fact, in terms of downtime and just feeling off-centered and a little bit more time to regroup. And so that's important for people to really get that, you might need even more downtime and quiet time to kind of, again, restabilize and put everything together after an event like this. Pauline, how about you?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Creaky, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think probably I've already said this, but again, going back to the support, I live alone, and I really don't have anybody that I can talk to yet. And just getting back on Dementia Mentors with all my people, going to the family thing, and then being able to step back and kind of vent and get it out before I withdraw and leave and cry or whatever I might do, but just to recognize myself that I need to step back and regroup with people that are helping me out. And I think the more the community gets this dementia community awareness, and it doesn't have to be dementia, it's just people slow down when they get older, so I think just getting that education, which is what Michael and everybody else is doing, the big stuff, is going to help out a lot.
I'm going to throw in one other thing, because I just, through this conversation, noticed something about myself. When I throw a big party, I'm always kind of in control, and I'm cleaning up, and I'm doing dishes, and I'm working the room for things to do. And do tasks help you guys? For me, I think it's a calming thing versus sitting and relaxing and then feeling like things are building up. Or do you not notice some of those things? And again, part of it's different if it's at your home or somewhere else. And I'm going to go to Lori and then True.
That depends on the task. And I'll give you an example. I generally try to stay out of the kitchen after we eat, because the clang of the dishes as they're going in the dishwasher, as they're whatever, that constant clanging noise, you don't realize how much noise washing dishes is, but it's a lot. It's a lot of high-pitched sounds. That's a task that doesn't calm me at all. It really depends on what the task is that needs to be done. Some tasks are calming to me. For example, I take the napkins at Christmas and make them into Christmas trees. To me, just that act of folding, I can have 10 people in the other room, but that's just kind of la-da-da type thing. And it does calm me down for some quirky reason. It's my brain. But it really depends on the task and the noise level and the intensity of the task.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. True, you had a comment?
That's very much like what I was going to say. It's very hard to find tasks that I can contribute, because everything they suggest I do, I can't do for some reason. I can't cut. I can't tell where has been cleaned and where hasn't been cleaned, because I can't remember. I can't, I forget the other thing I was going to mention, but finding a task that we can contribute, I think, has to be on our part. And I am not very successful at finding tasks. It's a great idea, and like making, doing the napkins in a special shape, that I could do. But where the pressure comes in is figuring out ahead of time, what can I do to contribute while I'm there in a task? Because that's a really hard thing for me to find.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Creaky, you had a comment?
I was just writing in the side thing that I have never really been social, and it's really hard for me to be, even with family, just because I've always needed to stay busy. That way I don't get cornered into, asking me something that, I'm not ready to talk about. And it's the same thing with this. It's just a matter of, I can still be a part of the gathering, and I can fold napkins, or, well, we don't have napkins, but I can do something around the house or go outside and pull weeds, and just still be able to be social without getting cornered sitting on the sofa with people, maybe asking specifics from both sides of my being there. But I'm still able to be around.
Well, True. One more thing, and then we'll wrap her up.
Sometimes I'll bring crochet.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. Well, I want to thank you guys. I think this was a really interesting and powerful video that you did, filled with lots of good ideas and tips and explanations so people really can understand some of these givens that you deal with day in and day out. But then you add them to holidays or big events and it just can explode and have you feel like you're imploding maybe sometimes. So I hope it makes our audience listeners more receptive to change and understanding, looking at some of the nonverbal signs that somebody might not always be able to put everything into words. And when we're talking, one other last tip that I was told was when speaking with somebody with dementia, try to speak at the same tone they're speaking, the same pace, because what I've been told is that they feel that that's the pace their brain is processing. And so again, easier said than done. True?
And not always true, because people under stress are likely to talk faster than what they can understand.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. So again, so many things to think of. We want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And again, I want to thank our panelists here. I marvel at you every time. Thank you.